It is the summer of 1764. Boston, Massachusetts is still a colony under strict British rule. James Otis has made a name for himself as a lawyer by defending pirates, as a politician by challenging the British rule. He writes in one of his pamphlets against the British, the very act of taxing those who are not represented appears to me to be depriving them of their most essential rights. Well, across the ocean, old Britain, he is heard. Lord Mansfield, none other than Lord Mansfield, comments his claim and says, "It is said the man is mad." No seats for the colonies. Instead, what happens? The British pass a new law, the Stamp Act. The colonists should pay taxes for every piece of paper they use, for legal documents, shipping papers, even, and that was probably too much, for playing cards and dice. So something very unexpected happens, and I think the British this time should have listened more carefully. They refuse. The colonists simply outright refuse. Riots are taking place, large demonstrations, tax collectors are harassed, and with that, the enforcement of the tax simply fails. Taxation without representation becomes a battle cry for a movement we all know where it led to no less than the Declaration of Independence just a mere couple years later. It is the year 1858. A young woman, her name is Sarah Wall, has made a name for herself. She wants to have the right to vote. How dare she? She addresses a committee of men. We do not send you our petitions year after year merely for you to ignore them. We demand action, immediate action. If it's not in the name of affection, at least do it in the name of justice. And she's resolute. She says, and as of now, I henceforth refuse to pay taxes. And she does. For 25 years, Sarah Wall doesn't pay taxes. And again, taxation, no taxation without representation becomes a battle cry. This movement takes a little longer, a mere 60 years later, 1919, not the Declaration of Independence, but the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution gives every woman the right to vote. In Switzerland, it takes a little longer. My mother had to wait until 1971 to cast her first ballot, but that's another story. It is the year 2019. Two young women from Basel, Zaira Esposito and Tatiana Vieira, have a very special idea. They organize in the city parliament a session for people who are residents but have no right to vote. The idea is simple. Those people develop propositions, they then vote on them, and then they are passed on to an elected member of parliament who then takes on the duty to take this idea into the political process. So, on a very sunny Saturday, I sit in my own city parliament, I'm an elected member there, and I watch the scene. Me, an older white man, the very symbol of over-representation. One of the propositions of the people who are not allowed to vote and are residents is they want to have free language courses. I watch and I think, well, of course, free language courses, they are interesting, they are migrants. And then suddenly they say, oh, no, not for foreigners or migrants. We want also free language courses for people who moved, for Swiss people who moved from another language region to Basel, because they don't get the assistance we get. We have free language courses in Basel. So I sit there, stunned and touched. They invest themselves, they who have no say for others, who have a say but obviously have not had this idea yet. I am stunned and I sit there and suddenly it hits me like a train. Am I really any better than Lord Mansfield all these years ago towards the colonists? Am I better than the man towards the women who wanted the right to vote and were denied flat out this right? In Basel, out of 200,000 people, 200,000 residents, only 105,000 are eligible to vote. That's only 53%. That's a problem. And I'm sure you all are with me that taxation, no taxation without representation, is again an issue in our city. And now, let me address those of you who are residents and pay taxes here. I think we should focus not on the divisive part. We should not focus and say, yeah, just become Swiss citizens. That's very difficult, I know. The language is difficult. Let's focus on what we have in common. And we have in common two very important things. We live here, residents, and we pay taxes here. That should be enough. And let me also tell you from my parliament standpoint, we need your ideas, your input, your hopes, your dreams to solve the problems of tomorrow. And to all the probably a bit fewer Swiss who are here, let me tell you, let's be strong. For centuries, exclusion criteria like gender, religion, race, sexual orientation have caused nothing but sorrow. So let's be grand, let's include, let's think about voting rights on a local level for everyone who has a residency here and who pays taxes here. Democracy is still and will always hopefully be the rule of the many and never the rule of the few. Thank you very much.